Welcome, citizens of District 4. I'm your District 4 Commissioner, Mark Alcarez, and also Vice Chair. Welcome to District Dialogue. On our District Dialogue, we're going to show you some highlights from our recent town hall. It was a fantastic turnout. Thank you all the citizens who came out and all the great questions. I'd also like to thank our speakers who were there that day. Glenn Easterwood, Douglas County Board of Education Chairman. Sheriff Tim Pounds, our Douglas County Sheriff. And then also our DOT Director, Suleiman Rana. He had some fantastic questions in regards to our traffic, but I'm not going to spoil it all. What I'll do is let you see some of the highlights from that town hall meeting. I appreciate you coming out. I'm going to start with our DOT Director to give you some updates for District 4 and some road work that we have going on, not only in District 4, but also inside the county. We finally, after quite some time, we finally got the post road exit ramps and entry ramps finally done. I appreciate the patience. I really appreciate the patience because there was, during that construction time, traffic was horrendous, but I just kept praying, Lord, let us have some good weather so that we can hurry up and get this done. But I appreciate that, and it's so much easier now because I'm the one who has to get off. I'm the one who, when you're coming off or getting off from Atlanta, I'm the one that had to make a right-hand turn, and of course, everybody stayed right in the center, and you couldn't get around that, and then the potholes were so big, it was like, you could really damage your car. So I love that new turn lane, but I'm going to go ahead and bring our Director Rana up from Douglas County DOT, and he's going to give you some updates on our traffic and not only that, but also some road construction that's going to be happening in Douglas County.
Thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Suleiman Rana. I'm the Managing Director for our Transportation Services Division. First of all, thank you, Commissioner, for having me here today, and thank you to you all for being so productive on a Saturday morning. I'll start off by telling you about my division and what we're responsible for. My division encompasses 3 departments: Connect Douglas, Public Works, and DOT. Department of Transportation is my core department also, and our mission statement is to ensure mobility for all Douglas County residents and all those who depend on our infrastructure to get from point A to point B. In order to do so, we depend on a large set of infrastructure pieces, from roadways, which is 720 miles of roadway that we maintain, to bridges. We maintain 93 bridges in Douglas County, and traffic signals, about 100 traffic signals that we have in Douglas County, and striping, signage. There's a lot of components that go into dictating travelways or our riders on a daily basis that we don't often pay much attention to, but as a DOT, we're responsible for maintaining those and then also ensuring the growth of our infrastructure with the growing demand of our county. I'll quickly go over some projects that we've been able to deliver here in Douglas County, but overall in the county. Commissioner Alcarez mentioned Post Road at I-20. That is one of our most recent projects that we finished here in District 4. The complexity of project was that this was in GDOT's right-of-way, one of the most heaviest traveled interchanges on the west side of the county. We had about 12,000 riders that we had to ensure that they had the access they needed, and then we also completed the construction. So the complexity with DOT projects is that you cannot close the road. Like on a building project, you could fence it, do the work you need to do. You have to keep the thousands of cars active on the roadway. Then the construction sensitivity and the hazards that come with the process, you have to ensure that public is protected, but then project also progresses over time. But overall, $1.5 million project that was finished over a period of 3 years, and that was intentionally split up in 3 phases. First, we fixed the shoulders, then we did the signal, and then we did the turn lane to minimize inconvenience for our residents. Then also going west on Liberty Road, even though that's city limits, the county took the initiative per Commissioner Alcarez's request and his initiative to install the signal for eastbound approach. That approach was unsafe and highly congested for a long time, but now that signal manages the traffic much better than it did before. Another project that has been on track was Highway 5 at Douglas Boulevard. That right turn lane was added. That was also in city limits on state route, but GDOT, the county took the initiative of leading and funding that project. Of course, we had some partnership financially from the city. They contributed about $600,000. Overall project expense was a little north of $1 million. One project that we've discussed at many town halls before is a roundabout at Highway 5 and Dorset Shoals. That is also a GDOT project, but since it's in our backyard, we of course feel the pain more than anybody else. The County Board of Commissioners, County Administration has been advocating for that project for a long time, and I'm happy to report that the project will be breaking ground this summer. The letting process has been completed and they're going through some final contracting items or executions at state level. Another need of the county is we have, like I mentioned, a large number of roadway mileage, bridges, traffic components. With that ownership comes the responsibility to maintain. Maintenance of transportation infrastructure is very expensive. Currently, it costs us about $500,000 to resurface 1 mile of roadway. And then you can imagine having to maintain 720 miles. So with that in mind, we have been able to maximize the funding we could get from state level and then match it with SPLOST dollars here at county level and do as much resurfacing as we can. But then what we do is we also coordinate with GDOT's leadership and try to reinforce the need of resurfacing and investments on local state routes. So as a result, you've seen resurfacing on Highway 5, we've seen resurfacing of I-20, we've seen segments of US 78 paved, Thornton Road, Fairburn. A lot of these major thoroughfares have gotten the much deserved investment that they needed in terms of resurfacing. As a county, we just finished resurfacing a section of Liberty Road. We will be doing another section of Liberty Road and resurfacing this year. The reason we do it in sections is because our funding is tied to fiscal years, and there's only so much we can do. So we try to maximize the segments on a yearly basis and then come back and address the next one as funding and time permits. This year, along with Liberty Road, you will also see some resurfacing on Pool Road and Post Road. And apart from that, as a county, we will be resurfacing anywhere from 10 to 15 miles of roadway this year. And now I'll quickly take a step away from District 4, but as a county, some of the large projects that we're working on is, of course, Lee Road. That's under construction since 2022. It's in now final stages of completion. If anybody's driven through, you must have seen the entire pavement now ready. What we're working on is some side tie-ins to minor streets, and that project will be the largest project delivered in the county's history. Our contracted value is about $21 million. In today's dollar value, that project is worth easily $50 million. And then we're also working on Chapel Hill widening. We're working on the intersection improvement of Chapel Hill at 166. We are working on Chapel Hill interchange improvements also. And then apart from projects, one thing we've started to do is we're planning for the future. Two issues we have in Douglas County that need long-term mitigation. One is safety. We need to minimize the number of crashes in the county. And what the Board of Commissioners recently adopted was Vision Zero. Their goal is to eliminate all fatalities resulting from a vehicular accident by 2050. Now, of course, that requires a lot of work, a lot of investment, and that's a long-term goal, but that is a vision that's set for the county, and I think the county should not accept anything less than 0 fatalities. It is ambitious, but then the good thing about having that plan is that now you're eligible for federal funding that will eliminate fatalities, serious injury accidents, and help improve safety on roadways of Douglas County. Another issue we have in Douglas County is truck traffic. Our strategic location positions us as a gateway to Metro Atlanta. And in result, we get a large number of traffic in general, but a large number of trucks coming through our county. Trucks are important, they're pivotal for businesses, but there's a safety component that we have to ensure for our residents. So what we started is a freight cluster plan. This plan is funded by Atlanta Regional Commission, so we're only putting in 20% of our money, but 80% is coming from the region. And we are planning for an action plan to mitigate the truck traffic from going to residential streets, from them being parked on the sides of streets, And then how can we get our law enforcement partners on the same page, have a task force kind of action plan that would react to any violations in the county. And then there needs to be clarity for sections like Riverside Parkway, where there's city and county overlaps. There's some sort of confusion that who's supposed to enforce what. This action plan will bring all stakeholders together, understand the business needs and the residents' needs, and provide action plan for all jurisdictions to follow. Apart from that, one thing that I'll mention before leaving is on the next Board of Commissioners meeting, you will see an action item for a T-Splost. The board has decided to consider this item due to the reasons of the conditions of our roadway. The roadway, like I said, we have a vast network of roadway mileage, and with that ownership comes the responsibility to maintain them. It's very expensive to resurface and maintain those roadways, and quite honestly, the county funding currently is limited. We cannot address the roads like we should. So we need T-Splost, or we are proposing T-Splost for several reasons. First is roads need to be improved. So that means more roads need to be resurfaced. Second is that we don't want that burden to be on property taxes. We want that burden to be on a sales tax. Third is to ensure that people who are using our infrastructure that are not even our residents pay into our development. About 30 to 35% of our riders, our spenders in county, are non-residents. So T-Splost gives you that power to get their contributions towards our development. And lastly, the beauty of T-Splost is the T stands for transportation. Every single penny that goes into this fund or is collected through sales tax only gets invested in capital improvements of your projects. So it can only go towards a road. It can never go towards anything else. So that is pretty much the reasons that the board is considering it. I think it's about time. We have some backlog that we're working against, and the only constraint that is preventing us from resolving that backlog is the funding limitations, and T-Splost lets you do that. With that, I'll just end my piece here, but I'd be open for any questions. Thank you, sir.
So if any of you ever want to give any help, go to the city council meeting and let them know about the traffic, and to get in there and assist us, because it seems that anything inside the county, we have really had to take up the ball and run with it ourselves. The city has not really jumped in and assisted us in that. But next I'm going to bring up, go ahead and bring up the sheriff here, because I know there were some questions that I know has already been proposed, and some concerns that's already been discussed with me before we even started the meeting. So I'm going to bring up the sheriff and let him talk with you for a little bit. And everybody welcome our Sheriff Tim Pounds.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm here to answer most of your questions because I know what's going on here in the county. One lady had a question about Post Road. I live on Post Road. I see what you're talking about. And it's about 3 or 4 different units, traffic units. But everybody, nobody want to drive the speed limit but citizens. Everybody else want to drive like they want to drive. So I take 5 of them cars, set them out on Post Road, different places, because I don't like them 18-wheelers on there. You see them every day, all day on Post Road. And, of course, we catch our share of them, too, along with the speeders. But we got to put them in different areas. We'll put them on Post Road for a week, Thornton Road for a week, Lee Road, so they spread it out. I know you're concerned, and I've been trying to address it and going to continue to address it. The speeding problem. Speeding kills. So, hey, David. Yes. This dangerous. But we go back to this, too. These young kids, we buy these fast cars for. These children shouldn't get fast charges and such as that. Get them a plucker. Some you done drove for a while. They ain't got no business with these fast cars because they is extremely fast. And they drive them. I got an event at my church, so that's where I'm headed. And appreciate y'all inviting me out. And y'all take care and come see me again. I don't never close my office door. You ain't got to call, get no appointment. Y'all come see me. I'm there. Don't come on no Friday, though. Come on other day. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Take care.
Appreciate you. Give our sheriff another round of applause. All right, I just want to address a few of those concerns that some of you came up with. Yes, I've been looking into our noise ordinance and also about the shooting. I was kind of taken back when I got it sent to me, and it was only one thing, and it said that they cannot fire within 500 feet of a residential property. That's going to change. We got to modify the ordinance to call it out to be a nuisance, and then once we change that in our ordinance and put it forth, then the sheriff can go out there and do what he needs to do. I am very aware of this. As I was speaking with Ms. Hayes earlier, it seems we're having these pop up all over the county, but mainly in my district because it's more rural. I have one, even around my house, I've realized 2 of them walked out the door at 8:30 on a Saturday morning, and it sounded like a war zone going off. And I live on a lot of property as well. I'm not going to lie. I'll go out there and shoot my gun every now and then. But I'm not going to go out there and pop 50 or 100 rounds in about 2 minutes to where it becomes a nuisance to my neighbors. It's about respecting your neighbors. So we are working on that, and I've already spoken to my fellow commissioners, and they are behind me 100% in getting that changed. The dog issue. If our animal control does not show up, there's some cards back there. You call my office. You call my office. We have a huge problem in Douglas County with illegal breeding of those types of dogs. Yes. But every time, just had a meeting with our animal control. I'm head of the public safety committee. So that includes animal control, coroner's office, fire department, sheriff's department, code enforcement. As we sit there and we've been talking about this, what they're doing is they're coming out here, they're renting properties away from the city, and they're doing illegal breeding. We've had kids mauled by these dogs. As soon as we go and find them and we take those dogs, they move to another area. They rent homes, they move to another area, and they start breeding again until we have to arrest them. So we are dealing with that, but we have a huge issue. We have people moving out of properties and leaving dogs behind. Dangerous dogs. And then they get loose. And then everybody, such as you said, get chased back to their homes, and we get calls. We are working on that. We're trying to, but as our county grows and people move in, you have these kind of issues. And truck traffic, post road. I have been working closely with Captain John Jewell, who's over the traffic department, about the trucks illegally driving up down post road. Our fantastic director, when I call him, he probably thinks, oh, Lord, what now? But I ride my district every day. And Captain John Jewell called me one day, and he said, Mark, we got a problem. Because we've been putting up signs saying no trucks. They catch them, they give them a ticket, and they're turning around, and when they go to court, the judge releases those tickets. What they keep getting off on was, well, I've already made that turn, and as you go down Post Road, there's nowhere for me to turn around. So what did we have to do? He says, what I need you to do is get a sign at the top of Post Road when they get off on that exit ramp that says, no trucks on Post Road. The judge says if you get that so that they already see that and it's available for them in their site, the next time they go to court, that ticket will stand. But they just see that no trucks, and it doesn't say whether it's going back to Veterans Memorial or whether it's going towards Post Road, but we now got signs up there to stop that, and I'm aware they are bypassing Post Road and taking Johnston Road. I've got those calls. So those are the next ones we're going to start working on, those signs. Because I've gotten calls from people that as they go down Johnston Road, we got some low-hanging limbs, and they're snapping them off and trucks are hitting them. So I know, and the next thing they're going, we also know they're taking Mason Creek over to Highway 5 to try to bypass. So we're trying to eliminate that, but we've been working closely together. I've actually coming down Post Road, have passed a truck, called Captain John Jewell and said, you got anybody out towards the Fair Play area to meet this truck as he's coming down that way? So I know it's an issue. I know it's an issue, but we are working on that. So we will be getting Director Rana. He's already heard you, and he knows where I'm going to go with this, to get that signs out, and he's fantastic for that department, and he gets them out very quickly. I know we're running a little bit here, but I'm going to bring up next our chairman of the Douglas County School Board, Board of Education. Mr. Glenn and I go way back, and so I would like for you to welcome Glenn, chairman of Douglas County Board of Education.
It's a tough crowd in here, tough crowd. Y'all be easy on me now. I'm a little tough out here. I'm Glenn Easterwood. I'm the newly elected chairman of the Board of Education. I've been on the board 6 years, going on 7 years. Very, very thankful for that. I'm honored to be able to represent the Board of Education and look after your children when you send them to school out here. I'll try to do like a brief summary of the things I see, like on social media, concerns people have, so maybe I can answer your question before you have them. Our data this year, our data's up tremendously from last year. We've been at a trajectory for the last 6 years. Each year, our data gets better and better and better. And we follow it extremely intensive. Before, like 10 years ago, our graduation rate in Douglas County was 77%. Now we're over 90%. We're hoping this year to be 91, 92 is what our goal is. And that's tough. We have, we have some areas in our county where the students are transient by nature. They come in, they're only here for a year, then they're gone. They're here, some of them are here 3-4 months. We've got about 200 homeless students in our county that attend school. So that affects your data. We have 44 languages spoken in our county. That's a lot. I know that's always shocking to everybody. We have 44. You can look it up. I think we have 20-something different translators. So a lot of those are hurdles. We're thankful for every one of them, but a lot of those are hurdles that it affects your data. But our data has been trending up every year, and we work very closely with that. To come up as much as we have in the last 10 years, to me, is remarkable. Are we where we want to be? No, absolutely not. And we test and we test, and we're putting a lot of pressure on the kids. I'm sure, parents can hear it at home. The age group we have in here now is not our problem. Our issues that we're having now are young parents. I've been on the board 6 years. I've never had a parent call me to this day, that their kid was guilty. They always did nothing. And then I'll say, well, okay, if this happened the way you said it is, let me look into it, and I'll look into it. And every time, 100% of the time when I look into it, it's so far from the truth you can't even recognize it. I mean, from what the child relayed to the parent. And y'all know how that is. I did the same thing. I mean, I was not going to you were not going to get any accurate information out of me in the 5th grade or the 8th grade or any time in the high school. But that's just the nature of it. But we have parents now, unfortunately, that do not hold children accountable. Their children don't do anything wrong. If they did, what'd you do to make them do it? And if you didn't do anything to make them do it, well, this is just something that's wrong with them. And that's unfortunately something that we're battling now, not just in this county, in the state, in the country. And we got to work towards that. We got to get better with that. We have counselors, in every school. And kids face a lot of things today that we didn't face back when we were coming up. And the buses. Who all's mad about the charter buses with our kids? Anybody mad about that? I can explain that to you. That was paid for out of eSPLOST. That was a 1-cent sales tax that we voted for at the booth. The voters voted for that overwhelmingly. I think it was like 70 or 80%. We use that eSPLOST. When you do a 1% eSPLOST, we can use that for transportation. We can use it for building improvements, all different things. We had just bought we just bought regular buses, the big yellow buses you're going to deliver the kids. We just bought those. Our fleet is good. We had reserves. We needed charter buses. We use charter buses a lot, and we get victimized, basically. When coaches in sports aren't noted for planning ahead, and I just get it all the time. Your high school football coach got a lot of things on his plate. So when they know they're going to be in the playoffs or wherever, and they're going 40 miles away or 50 miles away, or basketball to play in a tournament or baseball to play in a tournament, and they're like, well, we're leaving Friday. And they're like, well, did you reserve a charter bus? And they're like, no. So they call a charter company on Wednesday, tell them they need a charter bus for Friday, and I'm the charter company, and it's a public school calling. I'm going to charge them. And they really charge them. And it's a tremendous amount of money. And you don't know who's going to drive that bus. And you don't know what shape that bus is in. Y'all know, if you've been around any time, we have had charter buses break down in South Georgia, in Florida, all over the place, taking kids on field trips, Now we're in control of that. We know who's driving that bus. We know that it's a top-notch. Those buses are beautiful. They were very expensive. They're like $400,000. We have one for each high school. Now our kids go to playoff games in a beautiful bus. Our science and engineering teams go, they just went to Jekyll to compete in a competition out there. Parents got to ride with them. They get off that bus feeling like $1 million. And, you know, people say, well, do we need that nice of a bus? No, you don't have to have that. You don't have to have a nice suit. Don't make you a better businessman. But it makes you look like one. And a lot of times it makes you feel like one, and you get received that way. And you know, we want what's best for the kids. And the money was there, and we used it. You know, and I want what's best for every kid. If we can make the nicest thing, I want to make the nicest building we can for the kids. But we want to do it within reason. And we're very fiscally responsible with our money. We keep 3 years reserves in a fund all the time. The federal government cut $14 million from us this year. So $14 million will be out of our Douglas County education budget. And I kind of know why they did it, because there's a lot of people in the federal education level that are making $1 million salaries. And the president said, well, that's not necessary. You know, that's ridiculous. It needs to go to the state. I understand that, but it's hurting us right now. You know, it's hurting us, but we're fine. It's $14 million, we're going to make it. We go through, we sit down, we look at the budget, we figure out what we can do. We're not going to do anything that's going to hurt the kids. But we have to cut, and luckily we have reserves there that will help us, and so it doesn't put us in a situation where we're taking things away from them. I'm trying to think anything else. What's another pressing issue y'all mad at me about? Anything? Yes, sir. Bullying. That kind of goes back to accountability from parents. You know, bullying's been around for a long time. We have, would I say it's prevalent in school? It's in some situations, yes. You know, the kids are going to do it. I can't speak on the subject from earlier. I can tell you, it breaks my heart. It's terrible. Because it's a juvenile, because it's pending litigation, I can't speak on it. I can tell you this, there's several situations where all we needed was an adult in the room. That's all we needed. 3 different situations where all we needed was somebody to step up and be the adult. Not film something, not hold a camera, not scream, not fuss. Somebody just be an adult. But I do, on the flip side, I understand nobody wants to get involved anymore. Everybody's like, I'm not getting involved, you know, because I'm going to get sued or somebody's going to be mad at me. Well, so be it. I'll die on that sword every day. I'm not going to let anybody's kid. If I'm there, I'm getting in the middle of it. And I know a lot of you will too. And we've got to get back to that. I know we get tired, we get wore out, we're getting older. We don't want to fight anymore. We have to. Our kids are at stake. I see it every day across the county, across the state. We go to our conferences. I'm talking to boards all over the entire state. It's affecting our kids. Our kids are the one that's at stake. We've got to be there. We've got to do something about it. We have anti-bullying policies in place, but we have to know. We have to know, but you know, we can only do what we can do there. If it's not fixed at home, if that's not the foundation of the reason not to do it, it's tough. It's really tough on us. Well, all right, if nobody else has anything, I'll be finished.
Okay. Well, it looks like some of the room cleared out, so I may be doing okay, but I'm going to open it up for any questions for me. Anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a question. Like, one of the things I like about your district is that is the most rural part of Douglas County, and that's what I like about it. What I don't like about it is all of this development that's going on. So the question is, I guess, we are small farmers, and I know that a lot of farmers that have large acreage, you know, a lot of their children, they don't want to farm anymore, whatever, so they want to sell off the land, and I understand that. The problem becomes development, number one, the type of development, number two. One of the things we've been struggling about is data centers. You know, anytime somebody comes in and it seems like it's, man, it's going to expand our tax base and all this, what else is going to do? What do data centers use? They use water, they use electricity, and that's passed on to the consumer. Number three. Number four, what are we doing in the 4th District to help support farmers to be farmers? And are we looking at something like thinking outside of the box? How can we encourage farming where the county, through the Economic Development Organization, whatever, they can buy some of this large tracts of farmland, and then they can decide how that farmland is going to be developed. The other thing is that we're losing farmers left and right all across the country. How can we innovatively utilize large tracts of land and sell that land as farms, 5 to 25 acres? That's the question or the statement.
Okay. Well, I'll start with one. It's an everyday fight with my office to fight off developers wanting to come in and build out District 4. Every other district has roughly 5,000 to 8,000 acres left in it to build. I have 24,000 acres in my district left to build out. That's hard because those developers see that. And there's two things. One thing that's hard to fight off a lot of this is there's build by right. If it is zoned residential, sometimes I don't even come before the Board of Commissioners because they can do it. It's a build by right. It's zoned for that. Now, if they want to go high density, got a call last week, got a builder that is local, and he knows my stance. I'm sure many of you know my stance on regards to apartments and townhomes. But he called and said, off of Highway 5, I would like to build this development. And it included about 193 apartments and roughly about 75 townhomes on Highway 5 down there. If you guys know where Dowda Tractor is, not very far from there. He said, now I know probably what your answer is going to be, but would you possibly sit down and talk with me and let's discuss this? I said, we can, but you're probably going to be wasting your time because when I got here, I love my district. I love that my district, whenever I hear it come over across the radio, we got a loose donkey or a loose cow or something like that. That doesn't happen anywhere else in our county. But it's a constant fight to keep these developers out of District 4. It's that last corridor. We actually had a land retreat, the Board of Commissioners land retreat last Wednesday, and this topic was brought up. You had Georgia Power, you had all the different other kind of companies sitting there talking about the future of the county and whatnot. One of the top things that hit was, you do realize that the next part that everybody's going to look to develop off of is Post Road. Because Highway 5, you look at it, it's busy. The next thoroughfare right there that's closest to the city is Post Road. And look at all the land. So that got brought up in a forum. And they said, you know, they were talking as if, you know, there could be great things there. There could be grocery stores. There could be all, you know. And I let them say their piece. And when it come time to ask them questions, I said, well, I just want to say something to you. Not to discourage you, but just to let you know. My citizens don't want that. You can say you did great, hey, we can do economic development here and just build up all this and just think of the access and everything it will give for your district. I said, that's fine, but you don't understand my constituents from Post Road to Liberty Road to Fairplay and to North Douglas. They love not having traffic. They love the peace, besides the gunshots, in the evening that you can just go outside and you hear crickets, you hear that. They don't want that. I said, I have people left and right moving from District 1, 2, and 3 to District 4 because, and from Atlanta. I sat down the other day, which I wish more people would call my office and say, hey, can I come in and sit and talk with you? I can tell you that since I've taken office, I bet you I've only had probably 25 people in 3 years come and ask to sit down and have a meeting with me. Seriously. Now, constituents will get on social media all day long and throw stuff out there that's way out, not even true. But I've always encouraged, my door's always open, come sit down and have a conversation with me, and we'll talk about this issue and help you. But I understand exactly what you're asking for. And farmers, it's sad, but farmers can't make money like they used to. It is just, I mean, inflation is killing farmers. I mean, the grain that they have to purchase and all that, by the time they do that and they sell that cattle, they're just barely making just a small amount of profit where they used to make maybe 50% or 40%. I sat down and talked with them. State Farm holds an event every year for the future farmers of America. I'm invited to that event every year. And those numbers, when that same question about encouraging farmers, this younger generation doesn't want to farm. And that's the sad part. They don't understand how valuable of a source this is, but the younger generation wants simplicity. They don't want to have to cut the grass. They want somebody else that could do it for them. They want to live in those small town homes. I get it. There's a market out there for that, but that market's not District 4. It's closer to other things, but it's hard to maintain farms. The county, yes, the county's got a lot of property, a lot of wooded property, but if we developed it into a farm, how can we encourage someone to come and actually farm when the future farmers of America is telling us we're losing them like crazy all across the state? So it's hard. It's hard to innovate, but it's definitely being looked at. And things to preserve areas in our district, and this is just across my line into District 3, I will tell you this. You know, we're expanding the reservoir. So we're doubling our water in the county. The county was given a very generous gift of 876 acres. That's all around that Dog River Reservoir. The plan is, when that is complete and they're done expanding the reservoir and the bridges, you're going to have basically another Clinton Park out there. It's going to have nature trails walking all around it. We're going to have boat slips. It's going to have picnic areas, all kind of walking trails out there for our county to enjoy and to keep things basically a back to nature area. So that's coming forward. That's going to take a while because we got to wait for the reservoir to finish building all that up and figure out how far that water is going to run. But those are future plans so that we can have additional greenery and outdoor activities in our county. Any other questions?
Is there any update about the senior place on
Yes, ma'am.
Dog River?
There is.
Have you already mentioned that? If not,
No, ma'am, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have not. That is still coming forth. What we found out, we was going to try and place it right beside the Dog River Library. When we started doing boring to see what's down in there seems to be a lot of rock. So what do? We said, well, let's look at this because that's going to add additional cost. We looked at turning the old Post Road Park back in there because it's not utilized hardly at all anymore, and moving the senior center over there. Thought, great idea, that would save us millions. However, we found out the driveway going into Post Road Park, we don't own it. So, yes, I was quite shocked. We don't own it. So we were just giving the authority or the ability to use that road for the Parks and Rec. But when we started looking at it and talking to the people who do own it to see if they wanted to sell it to us, they're not interested in selling. So that is, now we're going back over to back over to Dog River Library, and we're going to see exactly how much. But it is still moving. The architects, we've got drawings and everything for that. Those are set. We made some modifications, but yes, ma'am, that is still coming forward. It's just nothing. I found out in government, nothing goes quick. I mean, but yes, sir.
Mr. Alcarez, I was going to sit here kind of silent, but I guess I'm going to speak out. But we're talking about stop signs, and I believe you know where I'm going with this, St. Andrews Parkway. And it should be a concern to Mr. Pounds because it's right here in his back door. The throughway that we live off of, Highway 5 to Post Road, has turned into be a it's a heavy traffic flow, and the county tells us, the DOT in fact, tells us there's not enough traffic on this road. The problem I have with that is the new development going in over off of Orkney, and I believe it's Blarney Stone Road that's gotten a three-way stop, and there isn't a first house even built in that new subdivision. Can someone explain to me why we can't get a stop sign on St. Andrews Parkway and they can in this new development? Here again, there's not even the first home built in this development. So if you're telling me there's a lack of traffic, I don't think numbers of traffic should be the concern. I think the safety of our people should be the concern. It ain't the numbers, because it only takes one to cause an accident, or this particular road, St. Andrews Parkway I'm talking about, has a cart path, which is at my house. And people who comes off of that cart path to that golf course, they don't even look on St. Andrews Parkway. And there is no signage for that either. To slow the people down on St. Andrews Parkway, the only thing I know to do other than have law enforcement there, and we all know we can't do that, is to put stop signs at intervals to slow them down. I see it in a lot of golf course communities. The young lady was just talking about a concern with a three-way stop. That's the only legitimate way I can figure to slow people down. Here again, it's a throughway from Highway 5 to the rest of the St. Andrews community, golf community.
Well, thank you for the question. We've looked at the situation quite a few times. The problem is, everything's got a criteria to meet. We follow some guidelines. Otherwise, there's no way to control where you deploy certain type of intersection control methods or signage. Otherwise, you'd have stop controls all over the county, and which wouldn't be sustainable. The issue is either you need to have traffic criteria such as volumes that meet the warrant for us to install a stop sign. That is not there. We've ran counts, we've looked at it in different ways. We weren't able to meet it that way. Then there should be some ground conditions that pose a safety risk. For example, side distance issues. There's something that we suspect creates a hazard for us to document and recommend a stop sign installation. We weren't able to get that either. So that limits our ability. So if someone is speeding, I understand that the law enforcement are shorthanded, but if the signage is posted, I think our first line of defense over there should be informing the law enforcement and getting sheriff's office to do some. I'm sorry.
The commander with the sheriff's department has, and I won't mention anybody's name, was told that they can't enforce traffic because it's not enforceable in the courts. They can write the tickets, but then they're just thrown out when they get to the courts.
Well,
Same goes for no trucks on that road. It doesn't make sense that this is a subdivision with 200 homes, and there's no truck traffic signs in this division. We got no trucks on Post Road. We have them on Wilson Road. We have them on Tyree Road, none of which are subdivisions. And I'm not knocking those communities that they don't need them, but what I'm trying to say is we're a subdivision. Right. We're 200 homes plus, with more coming.
Agreed. And we'll check with the traffic, Captain Jules over at the traffic department and sheriff's office and see what they need for us to provide so they can enforce at least the speed limit signs. For example, I think if we deploy certain signage, it then becomes reinforceable for sheriff's office to ticket. We'll see if there's some gap there. And
there's 4 speed limit signs on that 1 mile stretch, and I was one of the ones that pushed for the additional speed limit sign. Speed limit signs don't work. We know that.
Well, I'll have to check with sheriff's office and see.
A stop sign, you can write a ticket, and if anybody throws a stop sign ticket out, then they don't need to be in our judicial system. That's just point blank. Speed limits, I understand. Some people kind of push it from time to time. But stop signs, the intersection of Post Road and St. Andrews Parkway got a 4-way stop. I won't brag that I pushed for it, but Mr. Alcarez knows that I did. There was a pretty bad wreck at that intersection before that stop sign went there. And I'm directly talking of our community that I live on, which I'm part of the HOA committee. And that's the reason I'm here to speak out. Something has to happen. Law enforcement's not the answer. if we're 45 officers short, we don't need to have them on that 1 mile stretch of road. They need to be doing more.
Sure. Well, even other than stop control, there are traffic calming devices that we could consider. We'll talk with the Sheriff's Department. We'll discuss it with Commissioner Alcarez and see what we can do there. Well, rest assured, we discuss it very, very often. I did not know about the, lack of something that is prohibiting enforcement on speeding. I'll check with them, and then we'll discuss internally and see what we can do.
Anything else? Yes, sir.
I came in, sorry about that. I came in late as well.
Yes, sir.
What's going on the other side of Mirror Lake? Like, I see that they're clear cutting stuff. So, subdivision, did you see all that?
The other side, where were you speaking when you say other side?
Going towards 61.
Going towards 61.
Yeah, going all the way down 61. They're clear cutting that area. Do you guys know what's?
That's the city of Villa Rica. And are you talking about on 61? Or are you talking about on Liberty?
They're on 61, but they're also on Liberty as well. It seems like they're clear cutting, like taking out all the trees.
Now I know on 61, I do know that they have some plans to bring in, now that they've got a pathway for trucks through that roundabout and that bypass, I do know that there's been warehouses that have been trying to come in over there.
Okay.
So,
Not apartment complexes, warehouses, right?
Yes, and apartment complexes as well. There's even, I believe, proposed apartments right beside our new Publix is what they're clearing out, for what I've been told. So that will add to the congestion of traffic, which you came in a little late, but Director
Yes,
Ron
I
and
did,
I
yes.
have been going to Washington now for 2 years to speak with other senators to try to get funding for that additional jug handle. We have one on one side, we're going to put one on the other. Both of them be right in, right out to relieve some of that traffic. So yes, I've had to pick up the ball and run with that because the city just threw everything in there without even notifying the county. So we're working on that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Well, if not, I want to tell you thank you so much, and sorry I couldn't say this to the other ones, for coming out today. I've heard your concerns. This is going to be played, and I will definitely, my assistant will take notes off of this for things in order for me to start chipping away at. But I encourage all of you, if you live in a subdivision, Sheriff and I every year put on a gathering free of charge. It's for the kids out there on Connors Road, right across, or just right beside where the Dollar General, between the Dollar General and Family Dollar is, right there in that field that the church has the property. They allow us to use that. And we put on a free event for everybody. Just come out, talk with the sheriff, talk with me, and just have a fun day for the kids to come out. And there's free hot dogs, hamburgers, ice cream truck. The music truck will be there. There'll be inflatables for the kids to play on. Tell your community, you guys come on out. And if nothing else, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great day.